Good afternoon and a very big welcome to AGWA for an exciting instalment in our series of the West Australian 2025 Pulse Talks featuring award-winning portrait artist Vincent Fantauzzo. I get the feeling the applause is going to get even louder as we go this afternoon. My name is Ben O'Shea. I'm a senior reporter at the West Australian, and I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land we're meeting on, the Whadjuk people. I wish to acknowledge and respect their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the life of this city and this region. I'd also like to acknowledge AGWA Board Chairperson Janet Holmes-Court, members of the AGWA Board, the AGWA Foundation Council, AGWA Director Colin Walker, distinguished guests, family and friends of Vincent and the Ledger family, and also our sponsors of the West Australian Pulse, the West Australian, JC Deco, Nova 937, the Department of Education, and the gallery's principal partner, Wesfarmers. As many of you would know, Pulse Talks is part of AGWA's commitment to young and emerging artists and expands on the success of the West Australian 2025 Pulse Visual Arts Exhibition. It opened in May and it runs until the end of the month. If you haven't seen it, please make sure you come back and visit the AGWA to see the incredible and moving work of 61 Year 12 visual arts graduates. The West Australian Pulse is one of the most visited exhibitions here at the State Gallery, with more than 100,000 people coming through those doors to see the works of these young artists. The Pulse Talk series was created to support and champion youth in the creative industries, not just in the visual arts, but across all art platforms, including music, design, fashion, writing, and the performing arts. I'm lucky to have hosted a few of these Pulse Talks at AGWA, and I'm very glad to be back for this one with a keynote speaker for 2025. And I can say that this is a record attendance for the series. We've never had this many people, and I'm pretty sure I know why. And now, for the man of the hour. Vincent Fantauzzo, as I'm sure many of you know, is one of Australia's most loved and prized portrait artists. He has, in fact, won the Archibald People's Choice Award more than any other artist. One of those was for an incredible portrait of his good friend and beloved Perth actor, Heath Ledger. Raised in Melbourne, Vincent had the sort of childhood that either breaks you or it makes you. His home life was troubled. He struggled to read and write at school and was eventually kicked out altogether at the age of 14. Today, his work hangs in galleries around the world, including the National Portrait Gallery and Federal Parliament in Canberra, where his official prime ministerial portrait of Julia Gillard is on display, which is not bad for a bloke who forged his way into art school. This afternoon, Vincent will share his triumphs, challenges, and love for his craft in this aptly named conversation, Unveiled, which also happens to be the name of his new memoir. We'll be taking questions after my conversation with Vincent, and there'll be a book signing after that. So folks, I know you're excited, so can you please put your hands together and welcome Vincent Fantauzzo. Now we'll start with something easy. Congratulations are in order, Vincent. You've just been named the inaugural ambassador of the Pulse Visual Arts Program. The very first. It's pretty special. What does it mean to you?
Firstly, I have to say, I know you told me not to say it, but I get told, don't be nervous and don't swear, but I'm very fucking nervous. Very fucking nervous, Jesus. Also, I wear this t-shirt a friend made, and it says, I forgot what it says. It says, I'm sorry, I'm gonna forget shit. So when, I know you said a question, I forgot what it was, but listening to me is like watching television and people keep flicking their channel, so I just wanted to apologize first.
Well, I'll repeat it for you. So you're going to be the very first ambassador of the Pulse exhibition. What does that mean to you?
I just spent an hour walking around the exhibition with some of the artists, And I actually learnt a few things myself. I was there to mentor them, but I learnt a lot myself. I walked into the room the other day where the art was, and all my hair stood up, and I felt a loss of breath. And I now know why, because I walked around and flicking channels. I used to read to my little son here, Mr. Men books. That's about my limit. And he used to call me Mr. Forgetful, and now I'm Mr. Emotional. I listened to the stories behind their works, and I just thought art is so powerful. And if you look at some of those works and you have a feeling, it's because there is some really massive stories behind them. Art is so important, and all of us, I appreciate so much to have, it makes me very nervous, but I appreciate so much to have this amount of people here, because I want art to be popular. I use the example, if I asked you to name 5 contemporary, well, you guys might know, but most people, 5 contemporary practicing artists, most people couldn't. They would refer back to the White Lee, the Black Men, and that kind of era. And I want to make art great again. Maybe not the right reference, but I want art to be popular. I want artists to be respected. And I also, so what I learnt just then was, I'm here because I want people to, I didn't think art was a way out, and I have the best life, and I'm successful, and I have a 9/11, being ambitious and wanting to take care of your family and have a good life doesn't take away your integrity as an artist. But I did hear some people that art's not going to be their job, and I always think like, why the fuck not? You've got to become an artist. It's the best. And I was reminded that everyone here can be an artist as well as whatever else you're doing. But if you do want to live and practice as an artist as possible, and fuck, that was a long answer. Anyway, I want these guys to know that they can do this.
And we're going to get the Make Art Great Again caps printed and have them available in the design store. And so now...
That was a marketing thing, the whole pitch.
Maybe that will give you a hit to the integrity, I don't know. And so what does it mean to you to be a mentor to these young artists? Is that a strange thing, to consider yourself a mentor? It makes me very concerned for the youth. Mentor I can be, role model maybe not. So. But it means a lot. Like I think to myself, is this real? Like I was a kid with low self-confidence because of my neurodiversities, and struggling with imposter syndrome and things. And now I still feel that, by the way. But I can pretend I don't and tell them not to. And I'm sure you heard it growing up when you told people that you wanted to be an artist, you were working towards a career in art, and they said, what's your plan B? What's your fallback?
Yeah, so I was traveling with some basketballers, and they're massive, and everywhere we went, I was a few days with them, and people said, what's the weather like up there? And it was like, I heard it so many times, and all my life when I've said I'm an artist, and they say, oh, so what else do you do? Or what's your other job? And I know, and people aren't saying it in a, what's the word? Like a insulting way, but it is a real thing. They also think you only get paid, you're only famous when you're dead. And I felt like it this morning, actually, because I couldn't sleep. But also, like, there's a lot of wealthy kind of people that have my paintings. I have to watch my back. But I want people to know that you can live this life and I forgot the fucking question.
We'll just keep it moving. And so earlier this year, you published your memoir,
Yep.
Unveiled, there it is. And it's available for sale in the design store, by the way. And you've spoken about your life in interviews in the past. In the book, though, you went further. It's raw, it's candid. There are things in there that even your wife, Asha, didn't know.
There's things that aren't in there that she doesn't know. No, I'm just kidding.
That's for the second book.
Yeah.
And so, were you expecting the process of making this book to bring out those secrets?
Well, I kept all these secrets my whole life, and now everyone knows that I always thought books were the enemy because I couldn't read. I still can't read well at all. But I discovered audiobooks, and I love books, and I love storytelling. I was going to do some name dropping. I was in New York with Baz Luhrmann, and he's been a great mentor to me, and he's very similar. When we write text messages, it's like code no one else could read because I don't know how we understand each other. And I thought, I watched him writing The Great Gatsby with his co-writer friend, and he was telling stories, and his friend was telling stories, and they had a whiteboard, and they were recording it and writing it down. And I thought, I can do this, but not only that, I can have a year's worth of therapy where I get paid for it. So I had the most amazing Craig Henderson, who lives a very different life to myself. Just listen and somehow put my life into a narrative which, when I hear back, is actually my own words, just slightly more articulate. Question. Fuck, I've got to shorten my answers.
It's perfect. We're hanging off every word. Now let's talk about your childhood, the things that you describe in this book. To say it was a tough childhood would be an understatement. What was it like in your household growing up?
Again, I'm going to stretch this answer out. My life was very difficult, and there was poverty, and there was abuse, and there was all sorts of things that, there was a single mum with 5 kids, and she slept on the couch, and we didn't have money, and I had all sorts of stuff happen we'll get into, but that's my tough life. But I always want to acknowledge that a complex and difficult life isn't just that. You can be, a privileged kid at a private school, and the expectations from your parents are so overwhelming that you want to die, or you're a kid that's hiding your sexuality and you can't tell your parents, or you have parents that just, you feel like they don't give a fuck. So, I think that's why we can be from very different places and be very like-minded. But it was, I lived in fear, is the short answer.
And did it feel at times that it was survival was the number one priority?
So there were times where I felt so vulnerable I couldn't see past the next day. But I feel like I'm very lucky. I have a strength of mind. I think it's a flip of the coin. You can have the same upbringing, and some people can make it through. Just tell me that one more time, the question.
Yeah, no,
It's
just...
that bad.
Do you have happy memories of your childhood?
I do. Unfortunately, my childhood, education, school, youth, when I look at my son here, is so important to me. And a lot of I'm happy all day, and I wake up happy, but I close my eyes at night, and I dream every single night, and I don't sleep much because I actually don't enjoy sleeping because that childhood is, again, for so many reasons. I don't regret it. Well, I know I wouldn't be the me who I am and care about other people if it hadn't have happened. And writing the book, I think, goes back to the question I didn't answer properly. I've had people come to me. An example would be, I shared the book with a friend before it came out, and his partner called up because he couldn't speak, and some things that happened to me happened to him, and he had never told anyone, and then he did, and all of a sudden, to his partner, his reactions to everything in life made sense, and I feel very lucky that if I can expose myself, that other people can feel like they're not alone.
Yeah, I think that is extremely important. And how old were you when you first became aware of art?
Looks like water, it's vodka. I shouldn't have exposed that. Like I said, I can't read and write well, and all I would do is draw all the time, but I didn't know that was a thing. I just knew that I wasn't able to do things other people could. When I left school at 13, and well, I didn't leave, I got kicked out, and we can get to that, but when I applied for university as a mature student, I wasn't mature at all, but I'd never been to an exhibition. I have no idea about art history. I didn't even know who Picasso was. I still don't know about art history. And it's like wine or food. You know, I really appreciate someone being able to articulate it and reference it, but you can still say it, and who said it to me here somewhere? That art's nice, you know. Like you can just love it. You don't have to make it more than that.
And so you were drawing in school. Everybody else they were writing, they were reading. You found that almost impossible. And art was, what was it? Was it a way to hide from that, or just a way to keep yourself occupied in class?
It was all of those things. So sometimes having a conversation and I'm drawing, and someone says, "Can you look at me?" I'm like, can you look at me so you listen? And I'm like, I listen a lot better when I'm drawing. Actually, saying that, I wasn't listening at school at all. I find it very hard I was looking for self-confidence, I think, and I kind of got it through art. I also got it through being, let's say, naughty, and it's a problem for a lot of people with a neurodiversity that are hiding what they know I didn't know what it was. I didn't know it was that. I just thought I was dumb. So rather than appearing dumb, I would draw funny pictures and I would be the class clown. And when it came to my time to read out loud, I would do something to get myself kicked out of class.
And how much different do you think it would be if Vincent was in high school now?
That would be fun, actually. I think school's important not just for the academic learning. I think it's the social learning. I think it's about the difficult part is when you can't learn the same way as other people. You never ever feel like you fit in, and as much as I kind of got an attitude about being kicked out of school, I was hoping for it at the same time. School wasn't a happy place. You know, it's so weird. I forget every question by the time I finish my answer, which is why I wear the t-shirt.
Was there a teacher who did believe in you, who saw something in you?
Yes, and strangely, it was a science teacher, and he was an Olympic athlete, and also a science teacher. And I think he didn't know what the fuck he was teaching. No, he's like, oh, everyone believes I know. He saw me drawing one day, and he said he knew. It seems like I went through the whole of school not being able to probably even write my own name, and no, I never passed. I didn't pass one class, not one. I didn't do one piece of homework or an essay, and I don't know what the hell my writing, copying from the board looked like, and no one noticed. And I think he noticed, but he probably didn't know how to deal with it. But he said, "I'll give you a pass. Won't be a good one, and you just draw." And I'm very lucky I've had this life where I've had, yes, a lot of hard things happen, but I've had these amazing people, one of them over there, Kim, that have given me, let me know they understood and given me some self-worth, and that kind of saved me. And again, I forgot. Yeah.
It's invaluable to have people support you, believe in you. It's very hard to get anywhere in life without it.
I didn't even pass art class.
Yeah. Well, when you were booted out of high school, your life could have easily gone down a bad path.
It did.
It did. So how close did you go to falling into a life of crime?
Well, if I was just very good at not being caught, or I'd be in jail now. And it's not that I was doing bad. I hate bullying. I hate the thought of hurting anyone. Like I'm the opposite to that. I can't stand it. But I grew up in a place where I didn't know how to hold a knife and fork. I hadn't been to a restaurant. I would go to a friend's place, and his mum would be holding the little sister, shooting up in one arm, and there would be porn decorating the walls. You don't realise that what you're doing is not normal. I thought police were the enemy. I thought authority was the enemy. I feel, and that's why when I sit here, or I'm painting my third Chief Justice, which is kind of weird. I painted the Prime Minister. I'm friends with people like that, and I just never, or being here is like so overwhelming, because I would meet adults when I was a kid, and I'd be sweating and shaking because I thought they would find out I'm dumb.
If only those Chief Justices knew the portrait was being painted by someone who at one point had a hydroponic marijuana set up, quite a successful one.
Well, I'm painting the Chief Justice now, and I'm like, fuck, can he see what I'm doing? No, I'm not doing anything, don't worry. I'm a role model.
And so, Vincent, what was the thing that stopped you from, other than not getting caught, was there something that was a light bulb moment that set you on the right path?
There was a couple. Boxing also saved my life. I was once, my younger brother got, I sound like a thug, but my younger brother got beat up by some older guys. And again, to look back and think of things I've done, my whole childhood is like talking about just knowing someone else's life. He was beat up by some guys. They were older than me. He was 5 years younger. And I thought, okay, I'm going to get them back. I waited outside their house. I followed them in my car. I ran them off the road. Had this big fight. I ended up in court. I got arrested, and the police took me to the police station, and these two cops, I think they actually knew the guys that were the thugs. I was also the thug. But I thought more like I was a superhero, like a vigilante. And these two cops that first beat me around a lot, and then put me in the back of the van, and they drove over bumps, and I was all beaten up, and I got there, and I'd just come back from boxing training. I was training at the time for the Commonwealth boxing team, and this old guy, they said it was a public holiday, they were going to lock me up, and I'd be there for 6 days, and they said, see those guys? You're fucked. They have hepatitis, and you're going in there with them. And this old guy walked in, and he said, mate, what are you doing here? You don't look like you should be here. And he asked me my story, and I told him, and he said, he brought those two guys in and said, what the fuck are you doing? This kid, blah, blah, blah. And he kind of worked it out for me. And I thought, all my life, I thought they were the enemy. And I realized that was one about the authority. And there was, tell me quickly the question, and I have another answer.
What stopped you going down the path?
Okay. I didn't know how to make money. I couldn't even get a job at a factory. So I thought, I'll grow marijuana. I didn't even take drugs because I thought of myself as an athlete. I feel so guilty about this. My younger brother, our dad wasn't around, and I was like a dad to my younger brother. I wouldn't even let him swear. And listen to my potty mouth. I wouldn't let him swear, and I was like, tried so hard to be that person to him. I grew a whole marijuana house. I can't even fill out a form. I got a lease. And set up all these plants, and it was going really well, and I was making some money. And my brother needed somewhere to stay, and I let him stay there. And I feel like then I hadn't seen my dad for years, and I met up with my dad for coffee somewhere, and I told him what I was doing, hoping that he would say, "What are you doing? You could go to jail. You're doing the wrong thing." And he said, "How can I get a cut? And can I you help me set it up, and I'll give and it broke my heart so much because I realized my beautiful brother I had protected my whole life, I let be a part of that. And my whole life, I feel like, so the next day I shut it all down. I never said, that's the answer, never did it again. I don't like shortcuts in life. I like hard work. I like to be, I want to do things the right way. And I feel like so badly I let him down. But it was, that's the answer.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough to listen to. I think it's hard to imagine what it was like to live through. How do you think it's informed your art?
It makes better sense right now than it did half an hour ago when I heard those kids talk, and I realized that I don't want history to repeat itself. I chased the love of my father. The worst rejection is the person you want to love you most, not when you can't get it. And that's why I say it doesn't matter if you're privileged or it's tough. And it's the reason why my whole world is my children and my family, that little guy there. Gee, son, you haven't heard half of these stories. Hey, Val, are you listening to me? It's absolutely informed my life. And I think when people buy into art, I mean physically buy into art, they're relating it to their own experience or their feelings. Even if it's an abstract painting, that color can make you feel something. When you smell someone's perfume and it reminds you of something and takes you somewhere, art's the same kind of thing. So absolutely in every way. And it makes me think, I've had a tough time getting into the art world, and sometimes people have said, oh, you paint big faces of celebrities. And I paint portraits of people that I admire and are successful. Because they're so successful, they might be celebrities. But I'm more interested in the person, and it's my way of learning. And I want to find out what makes these people driven and so special, because I want to be able to be that. So definitely it's affected it.
Hearing you talk, one portrait that comes to mind immediately is your portrait of Heath Ledger. One of your most iconic works. It's a painting that's very special to everyone in Western Australia. It got your first Archibald accolade and really helped your success. You also painted it just weeks before Heath's passing. When you look at that work now, what do you see?
Really fucked me now, just emotional, Mr. Emotional. Kim is here, Kim Ledger, Heath's dad, and I just fucking love you. And you can know someone for a long time, and we knew each other for a long time, but then you can have a moment, or not a long time, and you have a moment, and it can be a night, and everything changes. And Heath was very spiritual, which we've talked about before, and he avoided having his portrait painted for a long time, and it was because it meant so much to him. It was like really capturing his soul in a way, and it meant so much to me because of that reason. And when you possibly could have, but you avoid things because it's a big deal. And that Christmas, Heath happened to be here, and I came down, and we had this 24 hours of, there was no boundaries about what we spoke about. It was like we shared things, some of the things in the book and some of his things that both of us had never shared with anyone. And he was he was ambitious about the future. He was going through a lot of things with his relationship and his daughter, his career, and so was I at the time. And he was so vulnerable, and a portrait can be, if there's trust and connection, can be like a true collaboration. I think, Heath wasn't drinking, but he was smoking quite a bit of cigarettes. But he wasn't drinking. He was ambitious about the future. He, in his work, like I do, absorbed everything. And in his life, he absorbed everything. And he was so empathetic. He thought about everyone's feelings. And I think he was going through a period where he was questioning who everyone is to him. My old friends really still my friends for who I was when I met them. Do my new friends like me for who I am now? Have I changed? Just an incredible, complex thinking, vulnerable, spiritual person. And we spoke about all this for hours and hours and hours. And the next morning, it was in the morning, I turned up to his mum's place he was staying at, and he opened the door. He was in his pajama pants and he didn't have a t-shirt on, and he didn't say any words. He picked up a chair and he walked outside to the back, the backyard, and he sat on the chair, and I was like, oh fuck, this must be the portrait. And he sat on a chair for this. It's like he went somewhere, and he was for an uncomfortably long time. I just started to take some photographs, but I wasn't even there. And he sat and he stared out, and he almost like a meditation closed his eyes, and slowly he got up and he knelt down in front of himself, and he started to talk to himself, and I couldn't quite hear what he was saying, but he was still sitting there, and then he went again for a long time, and then he went around to the side of himself, and he was still sitting there, and I don't know how to express it, and it makes me lose my breath. And that was a lot for Heath. So when he was sitting there and he looked at himself, there was a noise that, a voice that I've never actually experienced. And it makes me think of, you can watch the opera on television, and when they're standing right in front of you, there's something really powerful, and this scream and roaring and saliva coming out of his mouth, and there was so much he was saying to himself. I kind of wish I had been filming it, but at the same time, I'm glad that I didn't. And again, all the hair on my body standing up, and all this frustration and all this pain and complexity. And then he walked around to the other side of himself slowly, and he started to laugh. And it wasn't a show. It wasn't like, I'm going to put on a show. He was laughing, and then he sat down next to himself, and he started to whisper in his ear and kind of giggle to himself. And if I didn't know what an incredible artist he was, it would look like he's crazy. But he was offering me something so powerful and so honest that it was so overwhelming. And then he went over to the other side, and this went on for, it felt like a long time. It might have only been 10 minutes, and it's kind of why I'm glad I didn't film it. Then it stopped, and we had, I think, crumpets. And and I know, even talking about it, I know how much energy it takes out of me. And that's why I feel like every subject I have, I expect to perform the same way. No, I feel like there was so privileged to have experienced that. It changed my life forever. And the last thing Heath said to me, and I've spoken to Kim so much about, I'll get to one more thing about talking to Kim, but he said to me, this painting is going to change our lives. And when he said that, it wasn't because he knew what was going to happen. He was just very spiritual and instinctive, and it changed my life so much. I also have that tattoo to remind me all the time. Something very powerful that Kim said was, I hope you don't mind me saying this, Kim, I wish Heath could see that I now understand him so much better. And Kim is very spiritual now. Kim loved his son so much, but they had a very different mindset. And you've shared that with me, and I appreciate it. Like, you're very clever, you're entrepreneurial, and you want the best for him, and you want the best for me. And some of Heath's decisions, when it's like a young, let me be a bit racist. There's some Asian families who care very much about their children. They want them to do so well that they need to have an academic job that will pay for what they're doing. It's not just, or it can be any family, to be honest. And they say, you can like art, but you have to be a dentist. And you weren't like that. You loved what Heath did, but you wanted him to be clever about his decisions. And he was very off-the-cuff, spiritual, helped so many other people. His decisions were made emotionally. And Kim now said to me, I wish Heath could see how spiritual and how much I understand him now. And he does know, and I know as well. And I think about, I feel, so when he said this is going to change your life. It absolutely changed my life in so many ways, but it gave me another family. It gave me so many people that felt like Heath. Like, there's generations past Heath that never saw his movies, and he's still connecting to them. And for me to be a part of something so iconic's not the wrong word. I feel so privileged to have. Imagine how hard it is doing sign language when I'm talking. It must be very fucking difficult. Be like, oh, fuck it, they're going to think I'm getting it wrong. I don't know. Art's so powerful, that's...
You create these deep connections with your subjects, and often they become close to you, they become friends. Has there been occasions where that connection wasn't easy or maybe didn't happen? And what happens then?
Well, it's only happened a couple of times. I really, really love people. And there was one portrait I was doing, and this fuckhead, it was so annoying. It was like he didn't respect me, and I very much feel I have a good radar. People are good, bad, negative. Like, I've painted gangsters, prime ministers, billionaires, the butcher. Like, I don't care. I want to learn from everyone. But I could feel that this person was pretending to... He thought he was fooling me by putting on a show and not really respecting who I was or what I do. And it annoyed me so much that I poured petrol on the painting, and Asher had to stop me. Like, it was some good money, and I was put petrol on. I'm looking for a lighter, and Asher stopped me, and I wish I had found a lighter. Fuck him. But I then learned that it's still a part of the privilege of my job that, another example, I painted this very notorious gangster that he's the feared gangster of all the gangsters. And he's also very articulate, very funny, charismatic, and let's say a friend, and good when someone doesn't pay for their artworks. I then went from there to a dinner with someone that was very important and has to be conservative. And they said, so what was that like? And did they say this? And they wanted to know all about it. And I'm so lucky I get to experience the fuckhead I wanted to set on fire, the gangster, and the person that's in a leadership role where they have to behave. And I get away with a lot of shit because I'm an artist. I can just say, oh yeah, he's an artist, he's fucked up.
I feel like we could easily go on for another couple of hours, but we have...
No, we can't. I've got somewhere to... No.
Yeah, Vincent has places to be. So we have come to the end. You've been so generous with your answers and your thoughts and your emotions, Mr. Emotional. We can't say how grateful we are to have you here in Western Australia as the ambassador for the Pulse program. Folks, can you please put your hands together and thank Vincent Fantauzzo.